Friday, October 16th. This morning I heard the big cat rumbling under my balcony. He was transporting dirt, careful between the building and the fence, and up the hill, eventually into the Mikasa apartments. Then he had to back carefully out and try not to run over about a dozen things. I think this driver could give most of us driving lessons. Crew was busy most of the day building frame walls around all of the rebar helicopters. They had to scramble around the maintenance level to get ready in time for the big blue boom truck to arrive and for concrete to begin flowing. Crew worked in pairs when it came time to pour concrete. One filled the tower and then used the vibrating rod and passed on the yellow boom to the next set of workers, who repeated the process. And then they did it again 12 more times. In the middle ground, crews have been laying the sheets of yellow moisture barrier in the Mikasa apartments. From the air, Wilbur can see how much concrete will be poured to finish the floors of the Mikasa apartments. When he's coming at it from the other direction, he has to be careful to not get tangled up in the tall boom arm. Still quiet on the western parking spaces. Maybe more activity will happen next week. On the north side by C&M, Wilbur can see that about half of the parking structure is covered by Skydeck or about to be covered. Don thinks those ruts are going to be filled with concrete for support, and then they'll pour another layer of concrete like they did on the maintenance level. Flying down closer, Wilbur can see the defined channels that have rebar in them, and he thinks maybe Don's right, but it sure looks like a gnarly patchwork of colors. Wilbur was slightly disappointed to find that the wood shop has walls. He was looking forward to seeing if he could sneak through the openings this weekend when all the workers went away. To the left of the spinning wheels will be the new chiller tower. A secret admirer left this little red beastie named Scoot on our doorstep and said we could give it good care. Don read the directions and started experimenting a little bit. I think he might need longer arms or less furniture. I don't know about you, but my COVID belly is getting pretty big. I better start doing more than 2 sit-ups. I found the pigeons having a conference on the light and on the roof. Monday, October 19th. On Saturday morning, George and a few of his crew came to put up a wooden frame around the outside of the Mikasa Skydeck to get ready for rebar and tension cables. Holes are drilled in the wood frame, and these turquoise cones are placed in the holes. Then the tension cables are fed through the cones. Stress is put on the cables by a machine that pulls 33,000 pounds of load. Then they are cut off and the holes are grouted. Below my balcony on the south side, there was a lot of clatter this morning as frame walls are being removed and rebar is cut and placed on the yellow moisture barrier. As the day wears on, they uncover all of the support pillars, and we still have helicopter rotors on top. Walking up the road, I find the big cat making mud pies with a worker, getting ready to cover up the chiller lines. Little Yellow Beastie waits patiently, but is impressed that most of the windows are in the steel atrium. He doesn't know how long he's going to have to wait while the big cat continues to cover up the lines all the way toward the maintenance level. Then the cat smooths out most of the big lumps before he turns it over to the Little Yellow Beastie to compact. Don saw this truck this morning outside on the road. I wonder where it's going to end up. The rebar looks pretty tangled, but they'll figure it out. I found the rebar had been offloaded by the C&M fence. On the new 6,000 sky deck, there are a lot of workers with architectural plans in their hands, figuring out where this mound of rebar is installed. As I watched, one worker called 4 other burly guys to come over and wrestle with this pile of connected rebar towers. They finally got it into a position where they could get a single tower separated. Think of wrestling with several hundred pounds of hangers that are all caught together. It takes 2 workers to carry a tower of rebar over and drop it in the seams. Don thought that's what was going to happen here. This worker in his safety harness reminds me of the little kids when a mom tethers them to the clothesline so they can be safe but mobile. Out front of Alta Vista is a witch with a pumpkin on her head, and a new bed of pansies by the front door. They brought lights in to pour concrete early tomorrow morning. I may have to sleep with earplugs and a room darkening mask.
With a blast of dust, Wilbur takes off near door 22. Looking down on the new independent living building under construction, we see that the framework for the concrete beams and what will be the first living level flooring, the parking level flooring is all complete, and they're starting to finish up the sky decking. They've moved it out all except this last quadrant of the building. This is Gene Theriault speaking. It is Wednesday, October the 21st, about 10:20 in the morning. Looking down on the sky deck again. Finishing up looking in this area, we're going to go over now to the assisted living building. Wilbur's taking off near door 3. And first we're looking down at the new maintenance building. That lines up with the first floor of all the rest of the main building. And so what we're looking down on the sky deck, I guess that is the 3rd level flooring, 2nd level ceiling. And we're looking over at the new building, new room that they added. And the yellow building, it's still yellow. They haven't stuccoed it yet, or whatever they're going to do to it. They have finished putting in all of the windows, and they have finished filling in the trench. Not only have they filled in the trench, they have gotten rid of all of the piles of dirt, and they have leveled off the roadway quite a bit now from here all the way to door 3. As we can see, they are just adding more and more sky decking. Pretty soon, I guess it'll be all the way over this maintenance level as well. See you next week.
Thursday, October 22nd. On Tuesday, they started pouring concrete at about 5 a.m. I decided I did not need to get up that early, so I turned over and went back to sleep. At 5:45, they had already poured a good amount of concrete from the maintenance level east. Bright lights cast shadows and make it hard to see the workers as they pour concrete and spread it around. Wilbur was sleeping snug in his bag, so I couldn't get him up and make him fly over the areas I couldn't see. I did catch a good glimpse of the workers as they started to pour the patio that will lead to the Mikasa outside garden, where residents can enjoy the flowers. Just before 7 a.m., they were finished pouring and smoothing the concrete. I'm glad I didn't roll over and go back to sleep again. Sun was just crowning the mountains with a pale hue. It continued to get brighter as the sun rose further. There was no rest for my crew of guys. They got up on the sky deck and started oiling it, laying rebar, and tying rebar. They didn't even take a break to eat a snack. When the sun rose higher, the concrete began to sweat. Airchair was back, and as I watched him polish between the walls and the support pillars and the white plumbing pipes, it didn't look as fun as I remembered it from last time. Little Cat has gotten loaded with corner Lego pieces and has to be very careful as he maneuvers past the newly poured concrete and down the hill. It's pretty steep. Later in the day, Little Cat was reworking the hillside, and I thought it was because he was making a smoother route from the top to the bottom. Later I found out that wasn't the only reason. There always seemed to be messes. This little guy was sweeping the maintenance level for whatever they're doing next. Next seems to be moving the sky deck out farther and farther west till about half the maintenance level is covered. The guys on the bottom are staying about one space ahead of the guys on top. Someone got smart and laid out support pieces so the bottom guys would be ready when the top guys started working again. Walking up campus, it was good to see that windows have been put in the stairwell on the steel atrium. Bring on the weather. On the north side by C&M, big blue slinkies have been delivered. On the 6,000 wing, men are putting the white sheets on the woodshop roof. Others are busy installing the tension cables. The guys are still on the harnesses. Very glad they're taking precautions. All of these supports are what will be under the completed sky deck. Wilbur took to the air to answer a question. What are the rebar cages for? They are put down in the grid that you see and will be poured with concrete. Then later, another layer of concrete will make the roof of the parking structure. Don found this bushy truck and followed it over to the west parking spaces. They were using a little excavator with a chain. These root balls are very heavy and would be very difficult to move with manpower alone. Before long, trees were planted, but I saw one on the corner behind the wall. When I checked behind the wall, 2 workers were almost finished planting half a dozen trees and about a dozen small shrubs. It will help with erosion, with aesthetics, and the neighbors will really like it too. From the air, Wilbur could see where the trees were planted behind the wall on the west. Now they're cleaning up all the dirt after the gravel has been installed around the plantings.